The stars went silent the day the Galactic Council voted. For centuries, the galaxy had feared one species above all others: humans. They were unpredictable, emotional, and terrifyingly creative. No matter how advanced their enemies became, humanity always found a way to win. They adapted faster, fought harder, and when pushed into a corner, they didn't surrender, they evolved. So, when the Council gathered in the shining halls of Varellan Prime, the decision came with cold precision. A unanimous vote. One word carved into history: illegal. Humanity was declared a threat to galactic peace. Their colonies burned, their ships hunted down across 1,000 suns, and the homeworld, Earth, wiped from every star map. In the years that followed, silence spread through the void. No human signals, no transmissions, only the quiet hum of the galaxy's new order. The Council believed the threat was gone, that the humans had been purged from existence. But silence does not always mean peace. In the far reaches of the outer systems, among dying suns and forgotten trade routes, whispers began to spread. Freighters vanished without a trace. Entire pirate fleets went dark mid-transmission. Wreckage drifted in space, torn metal, melted hulls, and no bodies. The survivors, those few who escaped, spoke of ghost ships. They said they came without warning, silent and cold. Massive vessels of ancient Terran design, their hulls scarred by old wars. No life signs, no energy readings, just shadows drifting through the dark, until they struck. Some claimed to have seen the old Terran flag burned into their sides, a relic from a species long dead. Others swore they heard voices over the comm, human voices, whispering in languages no alien translator could decode. The Council called these stories superstition, the kind of nonsense outerworld miners and smugglers told to pass time in the void. But deep down, even the counselors felt something gnawing at them, because every time they sent a fleet to investigate, it never came back. On the patrol ship Vurex 7, the crew drifted through the edge of the erased zone, a region marked forbidden by Council law. No charts, no beacons, just an endless stretch of dead stars. Captain Raoul Thaven, a veteran of the Purge Wars, sat in the command chair, eyes fixed on the black void beyond the viewport. "Report," he said quietly. "Still no readings, sir," answered his second officer, Lieutenant Kevar. "Just static. Radiation levels are low. Nothing alive out there." Thaven's jaw tightened. The silence pressed down on them like a weight. "Run another scan," he ordered. "Long range, full spectrum." The ship's sensors hummed to life. For a moment, the bridge lights flickered, just a faint pulse, like the ship itself shivered. Then, the sensor board lit up. "Sir." Kevar's voice cracked. "I'm getting something. A signal. Weak, but it's there." Thaven stood. "Source." It's human, sir. Old Terran distress code. Dated nearly 2 centuries ago." The bridge went still. No one spoke. Even the hum of the ship's engines seemed to fade. Thaven's hands gripped the console. "Lock coordinates. Bring us in slow." The crew hesitated. Everyone knew the Council's warning. No vessel was to enter the erased zone. No patrols, no rescue missions. The last ship that tried had never returned. "Sir," Kevar whispered, "the Council." "I don't care what the Council says," Thaven snapped. "If there's a distress signal, we answer it. Move." The Vurex 7 turned toward the dark sector. Ahead, the stars seemed to vanish one by one, swallowed by an endless black cloud. The scanners flickered, then died completely. Only the signal remained, a repeating pulse, faint and broken. They followed it through the mist. Then they saw it. A ship drifted before them, massive, ancient, its hull covered in burn scars and debris. The human symbol still glimmered faintly on its side, half erased but unmistakable. The mark of the UNS Aegis, a battleship class thought destroyed in the final war. It hung there like a corpse, silent and alone. "Life signs?" Thaven asked. "None, sir. Power levels minimal." "But," Kevar swallowed hard. "The hull temperature, it's still warm." The captain frowned. "Warm?" "Yes, sir. As if someone just left it." They moved closer. The lights of the Virex-7 swept across the Aegis's hull. Scorch marks. Holes melted clean through by plasma fire. And yet, somehow, the ship looked whole. "Prepare a boarding team," Faven ordered. Before they could respond, the bridge lights dimmed. A low hum filled the air. The comms systems crackled to life. A voice, old, human, and cold, whispered through the static. "You shouldn't have come here." Every heart on the Virex-7 froze. "Identify yourself." Faven barked. "This is Captain Ralph Faven of the Galactic Council Navy. Identify your vessel." No response. Just a soft, rhythmic sound, like breathing. Then, suddenly, the radar screamed. The Aegis vanished. Not warped away. Not cloaked. Vanished. 1 second it was there, massive and clear, and the next, only empty space remained. The signal cut off. The scanners went dark. "Sir, it's gone." "I can see that," Faven shouted. "What in the—" The comms flared again. A single phrase repeated, whispering from everywhere and nowhere at once. "We remember." Then silence. The Virex-7 turned for home, engines roaring at full burn. No one spoke for the entire return trip. When they reached Council space, their logs were empty. No recordings. No telemetry. The data simply wasn't there. But Captain Faven knew what he'd seen. And in the deep black between stars, something ancient stirred. The beginning of a legend that would haunt the galaxy forever. Humanity had been erased from history. But history was about to remember them. The message spread like wildfire. A patrol ship missing. Its captain delirious. Its records erased. The Galactic Council tried to hide it, as they always did. They sealed the files, silenced the crew, and stamped the incident classified, level Omega. But secrets have a way of bleeding through cracks, and in the holes of power, whispers started to crawl. Someone had seen something in the erased zone. Something human. The council chamber of Varellan Prime glittered with gold and glass, a cathedral of light hanging above the city's clouds. One by one, the delegates arrived. Insectoid noble from the Zath colonies, scaled serpents from the MYR Dominion, crystalline envoys from the Orient Syndicate. And at the center of it all sat High Chancellor Vircal, a being older than most civilizations. His translucent eyes glowed faintly as the last report from Virex-7 flickered across the holoscreen before him. He read the words in silence. Human distress signal detected. UNS Aegis, recovered, then vanished. Voice transmission, you shouldn't have come here. The Chancellor closed his eyes. It begins again, he whispered. Around the chamber, voices rose, sharp, panicked, desperate. This is a fabrication, hissed Senator Kyreth of the MYR Dominion. No human vessel could survive for 2 centuries. The signal was falsified. The crew of Virex-7 could be hallucinating, said another delegate, his wings flickering nervously. Radiation sickness, maybe. Silence. Vircal's voice thundered across the chamber. Do you think I haven't heard this before? The room fell quiet. He rose slowly, robes shimmering in the light. Every decade, another rumor. Another story from the Outer Rim. Fleets vanish. Stations destroyed. The same whispers, it's them. And every time, we deny it. We bury it. But what if this time, it's true? A holoscreen flickered to life in the center of the table, showing drifting wreckage from the last 3 months. Council cruisers split apart. No signs of weapon impact, as if something inside had torn them open. 5 patrol fleets lost, Vircal continued. No distress beacons, no escape pods. Not a single survivor. The room trembled with unease. Impossible, Kyreth muttered. No species could strike that cleanly. Vircal turned his eyes toward her. One could. Once. The word human was never spoken aloud in the council chamber. It was considered a curse, a relic of fear. But in that moment, everyone thought it. The humans, the species that had once stood against the entire galaxy and nearly won. The ones who fought with no code, no mercy, no pattern. They called it ingenuity. The council called it madness. And it was that madness that had forced them to destroy humanity before it destroyed them. Down in the city below, rumors spread faster than light. Dock workers claimed they'd seen ghost ships in the nebula lanes. Traders whispered of colonies hearing old Earth music playing through empty comm channels. Some said they'd found human artifacts still transmitting, heartbeat monitors, black boxes, personal logs, all suddenly coming back online after centuries of silence. But the most chilling rumor of all came from the deep space miners on Station Craft 14. They said a ship had appeared at the edge of the system. No identification, no signal, and yet, through the static, the station scanners caught a single line of text burned across the ship's hull. Humanity lives. Back in the council chamber, panic turned to argument. We must increase patrols along the border, barked one senator. And draw their attention, another shot back. No, if the ghosts are real, the worst thing we can do is provoke them. They're not ghosts, shouted Admiral Varin, slamming his clawed hand against the table. The only military officer present, his armor gleamed black and silver under the chamber light. If humans survived, they are building again. I've studied their tactics. They don't hide forever. They wait. They plan. Then they strike. Virchow regarded him carefully. And what do you suggest, Admiral? Varin straightened. Authorization for a new operation. Full fleets. Unrestricted power. Let us search the void where they once lived. If there are humans out there, we will find them. The Chancellor's expression darkened. And if you do, then, Varin said coldly, we finish what our ancestors started. That night, when the council dispersed, the Chancellor remained alone in the vast hall. He gazed out through the glass wall at the stars beyond, endless, beautiful, and cold. For the first time in 200 years, he felt afraid. He remembered the old stories, how humans had fought, how they turned their dying worlds into weapons, how they laughed in the face of extinction. The council had believed they could erase such a species from history. But history has teeth. He whispered softly, if they're still out there, may the stars forgive us. In a forgotten corner of the galaxy, far from the light of any sun, a signal pulsed quietly through the dark. A single human satellite, centuries old, its solar panels cracked and dead, suddenly flickered to life. The message it broadcast was faint, distorted by time and radiation. But one word cut through the noise, clear and sharp. Ready. Somewhere beyond the void, unseen eyes opened. Engines stirred. Shadows moved. The galaxy believed it had destroyed humanity. But humanity had never been destroyed. It had been waiting. The dying star burned red and weak, its light flickering across the hulls of forgotten warships. They floated in silence, relics of an age long past, held together by scavenged parts and sheer will. At the center of the debris field, an old Terran carrier drifted, UNS Valkyrie. Its hull bore the scars of 100 battles, its engines half dead, its shields barely functional. But inside, lights still glowed. Voices still spoke. Humanity still lived. Inside the Valkyrie's war room, Captain Rearsol stood before a cracked holographic display. Her face was worn, her eyes hard, the kind of eyes that had seen too many friends buried in cold space. The crew around her watched in silence as the holo showed a grainy image, the Council's latest patrol routes. They're getting closer, said Commander Jin Park, her second-in-command. Admiral Varin's fleet has begun sweeping the outer systems. If they find us, they won't. Rear interrupted, her voice steady. Not yet. The room fell quiet again. Only the soft hum of the Valkyrie's engines filled the air. For 2 centuries, humanity had been a ghost. After the purge, only a handful of ships escaped. War veterans, engineers, civilians, anyone who refused to kneel. They ran to the farthest corners of the galaxy, hiding in nebula shadows, feeding off dead stars and forgotten technology. Over generations, they built a hidden world, a fleet made of memory and defiance. Ree turned to the crew. You've all seen the same signals I have. The Council's fleet's disappearing. The whispers spreading. They think we're myths. She smiled faintly. Let's make sure they keep thinking that, until it's too late. Jin frowned. Captain, we've been hiding for 200 years. Supplies are low. Our ships are dying. How much longer can we fight ghosts? Rhea's gaze hardened. We're not fighting ghosts. We're fighting an idea. The idea that humanity is gone. The moment we stop believing in ourselves, they win. She pressed a button, and the hologram shifted, showing a faint outline of the Milky Way with a blinking red marker deep in Council territory. This is Station Tyros, the Council's primary communications hub. Every order, every fleet movement, every secret, it passes through there. If we can take it, even for 1 hour, we can send a message to the entire galaxy. A murmur spread through the room. A message? Jin asked. What message? Rhea looked at her crew, descendants of soldiers, miners, engineers, children born in exile. All they had left was one another. The truth, she said softly, that we survived, that humanity still lives, that we are coming back. Later, in the ship's hangar, the pilots prepared for departure. Old starfighters, patched together from ancient parts, lined the launch bays. Engines roared with recycled fuel. The air smelled of sweat, oil, and ozone. Lieutenant Kian Holt, youngest pilot aboard, strapped himself into his cockpit. His fighter's nose was painted with the faded words for Earth. He had never seen Earth, none of them had. But to him, it was home all the same. As he powered up, he looked across the hangar at a massive banner hanging on the wall. It was tattered and faded, but still legible. United Human Fleet. Never forgotten, never forgiving. Meanwhile, in the control chamber, Rhea stood before the intercom. The entire fleet listened. Her voice, low and fierce, echoed through every corridor, every ship. 2 centuries ago, they called us dangerous. They said we were too wild, too emotional, too human to be trusted. So they wiped us from their history. They thought extinction would silence us. But we are the noise that will never fade. They burned our worlds. They erased our name. Yet here we stand, bruised, broken, but breathing. Because humans don't vanish. We adapt. We endure. We fight. She paused, letting the silence stretch. Today, we make our stand. We strike not for revenge, but for remembrance. We are the children of a forgotten world. And before this war is over, the galaxy will remember our name. A low murmur of approval rippled through the comm channels, growing into cheers, into shouts, into a roar of unity. Hours later, as the Valkyrie's fleet prepared to move, the dying star behind them began to collapse, its light fading into shadow. Rhea stood on the bridge, watching as her ships aligned in formation, a small, ragged fleet against an empire that had ruled the stars for centuries. Jin stepped beside her. Once we send the message, there's no turning back. They'll come for us. Rhea nodded. Good. Let them come. Legends are born in fire. The engines flared, bright against the darkness. The fleet turned toward the cold light of distant stars. As the Valkyrie's jump drives powered up, Rhea whispered to herself, not a prayer, but a promise. They declared us illegal, but we were never theirs to control. The ships vanished into the void. Only the dying star remained behind, its last light flickering like a heartbeat, steady, defiant, human. And far away, in the polished halls of the Galactic Council, the first warning alarms began to sound. Humanity had taken its first step out of the shadows, and the galaxy was about to remember why it had once feared them. The void was calm, too calm. A convoy of 12 Galactic Council ships drifted through the Thalos corridor, a narrow stretch of space between nebula storms. Cargo vessels, refueling cruisers, and a few escort frigates moved in careful formation. Their engines glowed soft blue against the endless black. For the crews aboard, it was a routine run. Nothing ever happened out here. The Purge Wars were ancient history. The humans were dust and myth. Or so they thought. On the command bridge of the lead ship, Captain Sereth Kaur yawned and adjusted his sensors. All clear, his lieutenant reported. No signals, no heat signatures. We'll reach Tyro Station in 7 hours. Good, Sereth said, leaning back. Let's keep it that way. He didn't notice the faint blip on the edge of the radar. A static pulse, there for half a second, then gone. The navigator frowned. "Captain, did you?" "Probably sensor interference," Sereth interrupted. "The storms in this sector mess with readings all the time." But deep beneath the calm chatter of the bridge, something stayed. Far beyond the convoy scanners, cloaked in the black fog of the nebula, the UNS Valkyrie drifted silently. Its hull shimmered faintly, almost invisible against the starlight. Inside, the human crew moved like ghosts. Captain Rizsol stood at the command window, her eyes locked on the convoy's faint signal. "They are right where we expected," she said. "Perfect." Commander Jin Park nodded. "Stealth fields are holding. No sign they've detected us." "Good. Then we remind them why they should have left us in peace." Riz's voice was calm, but behind her words burned 2 centuries of fury. She looked to her weapons officer. "Deploy the Hades drones." In the vacuum of space, a dozen small, sleek shapes detached from the Valkyrie's underbelly, black drones no larger than escape pods. They glided forward with no light, no heat, no signal. Each drone carried a single payload, a compressed EMP charge built from scavenged tech and old Terran warheads. As they approached the convoy, the Council ships remained blissfully unaware. Unidentified micro-objects detected. One officer finally reported aboard the CSV Jargon. The captain frowned. "How many?" 12. "Small, metallic. Wait, they are accelerating." And then the stars went dark. The EMPs detonated in perfect sync. Electric storms ripped through the convoy. Lights flickered. Shields collapsed. Engines died. One by one, the ships fell silent, their systems fried. Panic filled the comms. "We've lost propulsion. Weapons are offline. Navigation's dead." The crew scrambled, shouting orders, but it was already too late. Because that's when they saw them. Through the void, shapes began to emerge. Warships, old and scarred, their engines burning red. No transponders, no council insignias. At the front of the formation, the UNS Valkyrie appeared, her hull painted with a symbol no alien had seen in centuries, the blue and white of old Earth. Inside the bridge, Rizsol gave the order quietly. "Fire!" The Valkyrie's cannons roared to life. Plasma shells and railgun bursts tore through the darkness, hitting the helpless convoy with pinpoint precision. One ship exploded in a flash of white fire. Another split in half. Cargo containers spiraled out into space, scattering like stars. Riz's fleet moved with frightening speed. In, strike, vanish. Every maneuver precise, every shot planned. This wasn't chaos. It was vengeance shaped into strategy. The convoy's escort frigate tried to return fire, but its targeting systems were blind. The humans jammed every frequency, fed them false readings, turned their own sensors against them. Within minutes, the battle was over. Only wreckage remained, 12 ships torn apart, drifting silently through the corridor. On the Valkyrie's bridge, the crew watched the flames fade. No cheers, no celebration, just silence. Jin broke it softly. "You did it, Captain. First strike's complete." Riz stayed at the shattered convoy, her voice low. "No, this isn't victory. This is a message." She turned to her communications officer. "Send it." Across the galaxy, thousands of Council outposts blinked with sudden interference. Their monitors filled with static, then a single image appeared. A human flag waving against the stars. A voice spoke, cold and clear, carrying through every transmission band. "To those who erased us, we were never gone. You can burn our worlds, silence our names, rewrite your history. But we are still here. Humanity lives." Then the signal cut off. In the Council capital, alarms blared. Holoscreens across the chamber showed the burning wrecks of the Thalos convoy. Admiral Varen stood motionless as reports flooded in. Multiple ships lost. No survivors. Attackers unidentified. "But, sir," the officer hesitated. "The wreckage carries old Terran metals. Designs match ancient human warships." Varen's eyes narrowed. "Impossible." But deep down, he already knew. He turned to his staff. "Mobilize the fleets. Double patrols across the outer systems. No ship moves without my authorization. If the humans are back, we end this before it begins. Far away, aboard the Valkyrie, Rear watched the aftermath through the viewport. Pieces of Council ships drifted slowly, reflecting the dying light of a nearby star. Jin stood beside her. They'll come for us now. I know, Rhys said. That's the point. She placed her hand on the glass, eyes fixed on the endless dark beyond. Let them come. They wanted legends. Now they'll meet them. The Valkyrie's engines flared, and the human fleet vanished once more into the void. Only a single wrecked Council ship remained functional enough to transmit one final message back home. 3 simple words scrawled across its hull in burning plasma. Humanity still lives. The Council hall was silent. Not the kind of silence that came from peace, but the kind that followed terror, the heavy, suffocating kind that settled when the impossible became real. 12 ships destroyed. No survivors. No signals. Only one message burned into the wreckage. Humanity lives. High Chancellor Virkal stared at the holoscreens flickering before him. Footage from the destroyed Thalos convoy looped endlessly. Twisted metal, frozen corpses, the faint outline of human ship designs. They were supposed to be gone, he whispered. Every last one. Across the long marble chamber, alien delegates shouted over one another, dozens of voices in panic and disbelief. The ghosts are real. We told you the humans would return. Seal the outer systems, now. The noise rose like a storm until a deep voice cut through it like thunder. Enough. All eyes turned to Admiral Varen. The tall, reptilian officer stood rigid, his silver armor gleaming under the chamber lights. His eyes were sharp, unblinking, eyes that saw patterns where others saw chaos. He stepped forward. Panic serves no one. The facts are clear. The convoy was ambushed with precision. Coordinated tactics. EMP weapons. Stealth technology. That is not myth. That is war. The counselors murmured nervously. Admiral, said the Chancellor slowly, you truly believe this was them? Varen's tail flicked once, a sign of controlled anger. Yes, humans. No other species fights like this. The efficiency, the timing, the cruelty, it's their signature. Virkal's expression hardened. You're proposing we're at war with ghosts, Admiral. Shadows that died 2 centuries ago. Ghosts don't leave wreckage, Varen replied. And they don't send messages. Someone out there wants us to remember them, and they're strong enough to make sure we do. He activated a holomap of the outer rim. Dozens of red markers blinked, each one representing a recent disappearance. Patrol ships, mining stations, trade convoys. They've been testing us for years, Varen continued. Picking off scouts, studying our response time. The Thalos attack was their announcement. He turned, his voice cold as space itself. They're not coming back. They never left. The chamber erupted again. Then what do you suggest? A delegate demanded. We can't fight phantoms hiding in the dark. Varen's hand tightened on the holo console. We make them visible. He turned to the Chancellor. Authorize Project Cleanse. A hush fell across the chamber. Even the lights seemed to dim. Virkal's eyes widened. Project Cleanse was outlawed after the purge. You'd turn our fleets into hunters again. If it worked once, it will work again, Varen said. Give me command of the outer defense armadas. We'll sweep every uncharted system, every debris field, every shadow. We will find the humans and finish what our ancestors started. The counselors exchanged uneasy glances. The word cleanse carried weight, the darkest chapter of their history. It was the operation that had burned Earth and wiped an entire species from existence. But fear makes strange allies, and fear was winning. That night, the vote was taken in secret. Project Cleanse was reactivated. Within days, hundreds of warships departed from Council shipyards. Fleets of drones spread across the outer systems. Listening stations reawakened on long-abandoned moons. Every signal, every piece of data, every flicker in the void was monitored. And leading them, at the heart of the hunt, was Admiral Varen. Aboard his flagship CSS Dominion, Varen stood before a row of officers. Our mission is simple, he said. No contact, no negotiation, no mercy. Humanity is a contagion. We will find it. We will burn it. He turned to the main screen. Begin Phase 1. Deploy Recon fleets to all coordinates near the Thalos corridor. I want every trace of their presence erased. The officers saluted and hurried to their stations. As the Dominion's engines roared to life, Varen stared out at the stars. He remembered studying human history as a young cadet. The wars, the defiance, the sheer stubbornness of their species. They were unpredictable, illogical, terrifying, and yet part of him admired them. He whispered quietly, almost to himself, "Let's see if the legends still bleed." Weeks passed. Fleets vanished into the dark, scanning, searching, burning. Some sent back strange reports, signals echoing from empty sectors, power readings with no source, ghost transmissions speaking in ancient human codes. Then, one night, the Dominion received a priority alert from a scout vessel near the rim of the erased zone. "Admiral," cried the comms officer, "we found something." Varen turned sharply. "Show me." The holoscreen flickered to life. A derelict ship floated in the void, human design, its hull torn apart, lights dim. But across the side, burned in bright red plasma, were 3 words. "Too late, Varen." The bridge went dead silent. "How?" the officer stammered. "How do they know your name?" Varen's eyes narrowed. "They are watching us." He straightened, voice low and fierce. "Inform all fleets. Increase encryption. Double patrols. They want a war." He bared his fangs. "We'll give them one." Across the stars, Council fleets began to sweep through the dark, firing on anything that moved. Colonies were evacuated. Civilian ships detained. Fear spread like wildfire. But in their desperation to find the ghosts, the Council forgot one thing. You can't kill what hides in the dark, when the dark itself belongs to them. Because even as Project Cleanse expanded, humanity was already there, watching, waiting, listening. And on the bridge of the UNS Valkyrie, Captain Rheosol smiled as the Council's war fleets marched blindly into her trap. "Let them search," she whispered. "They'll never find us alive." The humans moved silently through the black, patient, relentless, invisible. And for the first time in 200 years, the galaxy was at war again. The war had no front lines. It was fought in shadows, through whispers, hacked signals, stolen drones, and sudden bursts of light in the void. Every week, another Council ship went dark. Every day, another system reported strange transmissions, voices speaking in languages long forgotten. The humans were not just attacking. They were teaching. On the bridge of the UNS Valkyrie, Captain Rheosol stood before a holographic map filled with flickering red and green dots, each one a stolen frequency, a captured broadcast tower, a hijacked satellite. "They are trying to lock us out of the grid," said Commander Jinpark. "Every transmission we send gets traced within minutes. Then we send something they can't delete," Rhys said. She nodded to the ship's AI core, a small, flickering blue light that spoke with a human voice. "Luma," Rhys said softly, "you've studied the Council's communication lattice. Can you bypass their encryption?" "Yes, Captain," replied Luma. "But once I transmit, they'll know. They'll see the signal jump across every relay in the galaxy." "Good," Rhys said, eyes cold and bright. "Let them see." Across the stars, Council fleets continued their hunt, searching asteroid fields, burning moons, vaporizing debris. The humans were everywhere, and nowhere. Then one day, in the middle of a routine data transfer between 2 Council stations, something went wrong. The signal froze. Static filled the screens. And then, a voice. A human voice. Calm, steady, unyielding. "We fight for freedom. We fight for the right to exist. You can erase our name, but you'll never erase what we are." The transmission carried an image, a hand reaching toward a star. Below it, glowing in human script, were 3 words. The human code. The message repeated again and again, bouncing across every comm network, every listening post, every private terminal. The Council tried to jam it, erase it, overwrite it, but it spread faster than they could stop it. Every time they deleted one copy, 10 more appeared. In a mining colony on the edge of the Orion Rift, a young alien worker sat in the dark, listening to the broadcast on a smuggled device. He had never seen a human. He'd only heard stories, that they were monsters, that they burned everything they touched. But as the voice spoke, he felt something stir inside him, something that had been missing all his life. You can destroy a body, but not a spirit. You can silence a voice, but not the truth. The miner whispered the words quietly to himself, and for the first time, he didn't feel small. Across dozens of worlds, the same thing happened. Workers, students, soldiers, beings who had never questioned the Council's power suddenly began to wonder, what if the humans were right? Old band archives were unearthed, Earth literature, Terran music, fragments of philosophy and history. Songs of resistance began to echo in the slums. Poems once written by humans found new voices. Children whispered forbidden names: Apollo, Newton, Armstrong, Sol. Alien artists began to paint human stars on their walls. The Council had tried to kill humanity. Instead, they had made it immortal. In the Council chamber, panic returned. "Shut it down," shouted Senator Kyreth. "Every data hub, every relay station, shut them all down." "It's spreading faster than light," replied a technician. "The signal isn't centralized, it's fragmented. It adapts, just like..." He hesitated. "Just like humans." Virkal slammed his clawed hand on the table, then burned the fragments. "If the idea spreads, rebellion will follow." But it was already too late. Out in the rim sectors, fleets began to disobey orders. Captains delayed patrols. Officers questioned why they were still hunting shadows. Some Council soldiers even began leaving coded symbols on their armor, a small, glowing blue circle with a single line through it. The mark of humanity. On board the Valkyrie, Rhea watched the chaos unfold through intercepted Council transmissions. "They're turning on each other," Jin said in disbelief. "The message, it's working." Rhea nodded slowly. "We didn't need to win every battle. We just needed to remind them what we stood for." She turned to the viewport, staring into the endless dark. "The Council wanted to erase us, but they forgot something." Jin tilted her head. "What's that?" Rhea smiled faintly. "You can't erase an idea once it's written into the stars." On Varellan Prime, Admiral Varen stood in his private quarters, the human code message looping again on a stolen terminal. "We fight for the right to exist." He should have destroyed it. He should have reported the signal to the Chancellor. But he didn't. He watched the human hand reach for the star, over and over, until he finally turned off the screen. He stayed into the mirror, and for the first time, he wondered if the Council had made a mistake. Across the galaxy, the message continued to echo. Not just words anymore, a movement, a whisper in every corner of every world. And in the deep dark beyond known space, the humans listened. On the Valkyrie's bridge, Rhea whispered the words of their code, her voice steady and sure. "We are the last flame in the dark. We are the proof that freedom cannot die. We are humanity, and we live." The human fleet moved silently through the stars, their ships hidden among the nebula clouds. And as their signal spread, the galaxy began to change, not through fear, but through fire. The kind of fire that only humanity could spark.